Yes, everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Stephen Howson, Manchester derby this weekend. Big game for United. Obviously, Premier League football is back. What's happening? Sounds like we've got a little bit of an injury problem. So, Paul Hirst in a Time as a headline article, Antony Martial and Marcus Rashford are derby doubts for Manchester United. It's understood that neither of them have trained fully this week, which obviously casts a bit of a doubt over their availability for the match at the Etihad. Martial's missed United's last 5 games due to an Achilles problem that he sustained shortly after he returned from a hamstring problem. Rashford, who's been banging the goals in actually this season, has had a bit of a muscle injury that he suffered in the win over Arsenal 3 weeks ago. His injury is not meant to be as serious as Martial's, but the absence in training, I think, has definitely got to be a worry because regardless of how he's played last year, he is finding the net this year, he is assisting this year, and if you're going to be playing against Manchester City, you're going to be playing on the counter, whether you like it or not. Marcus Rashford is a monumental asset in this game, especially with the ongoing situation with Cristiano Ronaldo. Having Rashford down the centre in this game would be huge. Obviously, he's got 3 and 6. His injury ruled him out of the recent internationals for England. So, who plays in them forward 3 positions, assuming that we've got 3 positions to fulfill and he doesn't flip the formation? You would assume Antony plays. You would assume Sancho's playing, but who takes that last spot? Or are we wrong in assuming that Antony and Sancho would both play? Is it Ronaldo? Is it Elanga? Is it Garnacho? I think that's the big question for everybody in this situation: is who is actually going to feature in these games? Notch says Garnacho opportunity. I think if neither Marcus or Antony Martial make the bench, I would assume Garnacho does make the bench. Smurf says Ronaldo playing with a chip on his shoulder. Supid says Ronaldo to start. Wurterbird says, could they possibly be doing a late fitness test today or tomorrow? I think if you Jockey says morning, Steve, good morning. I think today's Thursday, right? Last time I checked. I think with the game being Sunday, I think if they train Friday and Saturday, they'll still be okay. But it'd be a good sign if they train today for sure. Definitely. Footy Gangster says Garnacho would be cool. Smurf says Bruno false 9. See, I like the idea of Bruno as a false 9 in this one. I actually think that would be a good shout, but I still think Ronaldo's probably going to get the nod. Colin says, how do you think Martinez and Varane will do? We will cover that in the preview, which will be coming out on Saturday, so keep an eye out on how I think the tactics are going to rock and roll. Foundation says no way Van der Beek is getting on the pitch. It's very interesting what's going on with Van der Beek. Maybe we'll do a whole video on the situation surrounding him at the moment, because I think everyone, including himself, probably thought he would have featured a hell of a lot more. Tim Blair says too big a game for Garnacho to start. Totally disagree. If you're good enough, you play. Rizzo says Martinez might get abused by Haaland, and Haaland might get abused by Martinez. It could go either way. Haaland's a hell of a player, and he's in great form, and he's playing for a team that are going to create a shitload of chances. But Martinez has played well against him before. There's no reason why he couldn't do it again. And I'm very much looking forward to that particular matchup. McTominay and Casemiro to double pivot, says Sausage Tits. See, this for me is the biggest, let alone the up front, who's going to start, especially with the injuries. I think the big decision that Ten Hag has to make this week is, what do you do with Casemiro? Now, Casemiro's not been in good form. That doesn't mean he's always going to be in bad form, and it doesn't mean that he shouldn't start in the derby. You want the best players. This is one of the best defensive midfielders the world's seen. You would surely want to play him against Pep Guardiola's team. But also, Scott McTominay's been playing so well, it would be unfair to drop him. So it's a massive, massive decision that Ten Hag's got to make this week. Massive decision. Lucky Singh says, I want a share of Manchester United. I think all fans would want a share, and all fans should have a share. It's not going to happen for a while, but I would love to see that happen. Dale says, I think Garnacho is made for this type of game. I think you're right, actually. I think if you haven't got Marcus, you're going to want someone that dribbles and runs at them in that way. Sancho runs differently, operates in between the lines. Garnacho can get in behind, and I would like to see that one. Emmanuel says, I think McTominay over Casemiro. Can you imagine saying that 2 months ago? Can you actually imagine saying that 2 months ago? Give bonkers. Hendrick says, Martial had a decent pre-season but can't stay fit since. His last good performance was 2 years ago, but people still think he's the answer. Make that make sense. There's nothing wrong in that one. Sudip says, they'd be better off playing in the counter. Who? City. City aren't going to play on the counter. We'd be better off playing in the counter for sure. Anthony says, could use some McTominay chaos in midfield. McTominay generally turns up in the derby, like it or not. Notch says, I think once Casemiro impresses often enough off the bench, he'll take over. It's probably correct. Casemiro and McTominay, Eriksen ahead of them and Bruno up front. Yeah, that's where I think a false nine could come in, generally. There's a question there, anyone. If you want a straight choice for one place, McTominay or Casemiro, get your votes in. Yeah, I think if you was going to play a false nine, that opens up the space for you to play Casemiro and McTominay and get Eriksen on the pitch, and then you could have Bruno maybe supplying the wingers. It's not a crazy idea. Not a crazy idea at all to try and utilise that, because it gets your best players on the pitch. Then you've got, obviously, what do you do with Cristiano Ronaldo? Not been good for club or country this season. Very, very interesting conundrum with what's going to happen. Captain Dust says, play Bruno as a false nine and McTominay and Casemiro, so we've just been saying. Anthony says, can see Elanga being given a chance either on the left with Sancho through the middle or straight up and down the middle. Yeah, because of the nature of Elanga's game, he's not tricky, he's not overly technical, but he is quick and he is direct. That could work. Wrigley's thrown up another option there. Antony in the 9. Antony in the 9 is not something we've really thought about before. I'm not sure how many times he's actually featured down the centre before. That might be an interesting one to look at. I'll do a bit of research before we do the preview. Jockey says, first time since Ollie, I feel confident we can go toe-to-toe with City. Just need to stop that goal-scoring freak. Yeah, we do. Zim says, surely Pep has figured out how to play against us with a false 9. Maybe, but it depends on the personnel. Look, you would assume Pep had figured out how to stop getting beat on the counter the way that they do, but it is the number one way that they concede goals still. And it is the number one way that Manchester United should look to try and win this game. There should be not even considering any other option, because it is the best way to try and do it. Simon says, first 15 minutes will make or break us. I agree. You can see the way the game's going to go in that first 15, I reckon. And I don't think you'll see too much change from that. It's not like we've got the players on the bench, probably, to change anything like that. Gareth says, a false 9 creates an overload in midfield and suppresses the space while exploiting City's fullbacks, which could be useful. Yeah, the utilisation of a false 9, what it would do is it would bring someone alongside Eriksen, because if we're going to try and play through Eriksen as our main outlet to the quicker players, that can be shut down. Whereas if you have Bruno and Eriksen kind of both dealing with the same sort of role and responsibility, you have to try and shut both of them down, or you can then find the other one that's out in space, and that can be the person that delivers the ball into the quicker players, who then look to go 1v1. The vote has been cast. Thanks for everyone who just voted there. If it's a straight choice for one place, McTominay 55% of the vote, Casemiro 44% of the vote, which doesn't actually add up to 100, so what's going on there? But get in the comments, Scotty or Casemiro, who would you play? Go, get commenting right now. McTominay or Casemiro. How this was about the forwards and we've started talking about the midfield, I don't know. And after we've done that one, we'll do one on the forwards. Lucky says, Jack Grealish is an excellent player. He needs goals. He should need goals against United. Yeah. Peter says, we tried false 9 last time and got slapped. Doesn't matter. There's also more defensively going on in the team at the moment. Some people saying both. Some saying Scotty, McTominay, Scott, McTominay. McMiro. Dave says McTominay will play, get booked, paving the way for Casemiro to start at Everton, but he's a better player for sure. Scott's in good form, deserves to start, plus he always does well versus City. I can't add anything to that. That's absolutely bang on. I totally agree with everything you just said there. SH Kalen says Fred. Do you think there's anything in a Fred start here, or is he the third choice out of all of these to come in and score? To come in and start even. I just read score because someone's asked about McNeil to come off the bench and score. Wow. For someone that scored 600 goals for City to come on and score against them in, I think would be his Premier League debut. Stop it. Lucky says United need to be careful and play defence. Abhishek says Bruno false 9 has to work. Brian says Ronaldo is a striker. Okay, on the striker front then, we're going to assume, okay, the questionable fitness of Martial, Rashford, questionable form of Ronaldo. You've got options. You could play Sancho down the middle. You could play Bruno through the middle. I want to know, who do you play, whether it's a false 9 or a straight 9? Who do you play as the number 9? Get in the comments right now. Who is the number 9 for you on Sunday? Ronaldo, Bruno, McNeil, Rashford, Martial. Just give me one word answer. Who is your striker this week? Go. James Dockery says Luke Shaw. Alanga has to start, says Emmanuel. Victor says, do I think Shaw or Malacia? I think Malacia. Casemiro was fine for Brazil, says El Cabong. Yeah, so what? It's international football. Hostad says, if we're in a Todd Boehly world, Casa, Eriksson, McTominay, midfield, 4-4-3, you know. Alanga, Ronaldo, Ahmad, Rashford, Ronaldo. Wow, a lot. Ronaldo might be just edging it here over everybody else. But the fact that it's not universal is interesting. Rashford seems to be getting as many shouts here. Rashford's Antony, Ronaldo, Ahmad. A lot of shouts for Ahmad, considering. Bruno, Martial, Rashford, Bruno, 100%. Charlie, interesting. Rashford down the left with Martial down the middle to hit him with counter and score, says Brian. Tom Barra says Charlie McNeil. Ash says Rashford. Erik says Antony. Emmanuel says Ronaldo's an impact player from the bench. Notch says Malacia. I think probably means down the middle, but we'll see. Tom Barra says McNeil. Kay says Ronaldo for 60 minutes, then McNeil. So, from what I can see on there at least, there's a lot of options. And no sort of universal opinion on who it should be. Very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Righty. I'm going to leave it on that. Sounds like Antony Martial and Marcus Rashford are doubts ahead of this weekend. Not both been ruled out just yet, but they've not trained fully this week. There's still 2 full days of training left to go, so I would say if they both train tomorrow, you might see something in that. But it seems like all of the fans in the comments here, very, very, very divided. Literally everyone, including players who aren't at the club, have been getting a shout to start on Sunday, so I think it'll be interesting. Look, great week, derby week. Even better if you get a result, isn't it? Make sure to subscribe. I've got a giveaway as well, so I'm going to keep it rolling till after the derby. If you would like to win one of the FIFA cards, hang on, let me get them. I've got these to give away. I've got Antony. I've got Casemiro. And I've got Malacia. If you want one of those, pretty sure there was another one of those as well somewhere. If you want one of those, then there should be another one somewhere. 4. If you want one of those, then all you got to do is become a YouTube member, and one of you lot is getting that. All right? Hit a join below. See you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.